Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Parents Were Killed by Godzilla and He Decides to Take Revenge Part 1. Before we start, please go support Angel Gonzalez 753 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Pain. September 2014. Hyoudou. Come on, don't stop, keep running, said a very worried brown-haired man. Hyoudou. Come on Issei, don't stop, said a distressed woman. Issei. Mom, what's going on? Said the little brown-haired boy, scared. Hyoudou. Be careful, screams as he stands in front of the two of them being crushed. Issei. Dad scream in shock. Hyoudou. Issei keeps running, said with pain and tears. Issei. But Daddy didn't continue because the building started to fall while the two were running. Hyoudou. Issei, be careful, he said, pushing the brown-haired boy to the side while the building fell on him. Issei. Mama papa, he said while starting to cry. Issei. Who did this? Who was responsible for my parents' death? He said angrily. Roar. A powerful roar was produced near the chestnut tree. Issei. You're the cause of all this destruction and the death of my parents. I will kill you, I swear I will kill you, he screamed with hatred. August 2019. Reporter. Since the appearance of Godzilla 4 years ago, the sudden appearance of other creatures known as Titans has increased, and that makes us wonder what they will do and are they a danger to our survival. Issei. Those bastards should be dead, said a brown-haired man, turning off the television and leaving the place. Ready for your first day of school, said a black-haired boy looking at the brown-haired boy. Issei. Tell me Lance, because I have to go to school, he said, tired. Lance. Because your parents would be very happy that you finish your studies and don't argue with me, he said seriously. Issei. Fine, you win, but tell me what school it is, he said frustrated. Lance. Academia Kuo. Academia Kuo. Now what's bothering you? Said a very developed black-haired girl. Rias. Well, with the recent appearance of those things between the factions have become so tense that everyone wants control of those strange things, said a redhead thoughtfully looking out the window. Akeno. But that shouldn't affect us, after all, we don't have to be in politics, although it's incredible that we can't control magic, she said a little more calmly. Rias. But what will happen when someone manages to control those things? She said worriedly. Akeno. That would be scary. At the school in trance. Issei. This is a waste of time, he said angrily. Lance. And tell me what you could invest your time in, he said curiously. Issei. Working on the Orca project, he said seriously. Lance. And what is this Orca project, he said curiously. Issei. I can only tell you that it is to control the Titans. Meeting anew. Gu Academy Hall 2B. We see the brown-haired boy entering the living room, receiving everyone's glances. Teacher. Well, young people, I present to you Hyoudou Issei, he will be your new partner. Any questions? He said calmly. Lex. Where are you from? She said curiously. Issei. I was living in Osaka and they transferred me to the city a month ago, he said without much importance. Why? Do you have a girlfriend? She said curiously. Issei. No, although it is not one of my priorities, he said without flinching. Kiryu. Are you a virgin? Asked a brunette girl with glasses. Issei. That's really a question that isn't asked in a school. I think there's something wrong with you, he said a little seriously. Modahama. What part of a woman's body interests you the most? Said the boy, receiving a hateful look from all the girls. Issei. That really matters if you are looking for a partner, it is someone who understands you, who shows you affection, not a simple piece of meat, that in a man is pathetic, not to mention that you will die a virgin, he said calmly, while everyone made fun of the boy. Teacher. Well, the questions are over, young Hyoudou, take a seat in the last row, he said seriously. So the classes went on normally, but for Issei it was a martyrdom. Issei. Because I have to go through this, he thought, frustrated with his work already finished. Greg. Stop complaining, this will help you put aside your crazy obsession with the Titans, said a voice in his head. Issei. Wow, so you're awake, super developed lizard, he said in his head. Greg. How many times have I told you not to call me that, he said furiously. Issei. Yes, sorry, well, what are you doing awake? I thought you would sleep more, he said curiously. Greg. I had thought about it, but I can't do it knowing that you are in a school with many demonic signs, he said seriously. Issei. I see, so this place belongs to the demons, interesting, very interesting, he said calmly. Greg. Yeah, well, changing the subject, why don't you look to your side? He said, curious. Issei. What's going on? He said calmly, looking at a boy who was writing in a notebook. Greg. Look what he writes, he said seriously. Issei. What he said using his enhanced vision. Report. Location 14 shows seismic signals. It cannot be said if it is awakening or is a natural reaction to hibernation. Issei. Do you think it's a titan? He said curiously. Greg. It seems that way, but if that's the case, how does a boy know about that? He said seriously. Issei. I don't know, but I think we have to investigate, he said seriously. Greg. Fine, but be careful with those demons. Gu Academy break time. Issei was looking for a place to sit when he saw the boy from his class sitting at a table a little far away. Issei. Perfect, he said, starting to walk. If he wakes up he could cause great destruction in the city of Chernobyl. Well, there is nothing that could hurt him, said the boy looking at a notebook. Issei. Hello, he said happily. Hi, said the boy nervously. Issei. Excuse me, can I sit down? He said calmly. Of course, he said a little more calmly. Issei. Hey, what's your name? He said calmly. Anandharu Surazawa, said the boy with glasses. Issei. It must have something to do with Monarchess Dr. Surazawa, he thought curiously. Anandharu. You are Hyoudou Issei, aren't you? He said calmly. Issei. If that's who I am, how do you know who I am? He said curiously. Anandharu. You were introduced in class a while ago, he said with a drop of sweat on his head. Issei. Oh yes, it's true, I had forgotten, he said embarrassed. Anandharu. I see, he said still with a drop of sweat. Issei. Hey, I see you like the titans, he said looking at a drawing of one in his notebook. Anandharu. Edo, if I like to study about those creatures and you, he said somewhat nervously. Issei. Yes, I like to know about them and their behavior, he said something serious. Anandharu. Yes, they are incredible creatures, he said fascinated. Issei. They are just monsters that bring death and destruction, he thought angrily. Hey, you have nothing to do with Dr. Surazawa, I mean because of the last names, he said, trying not to be awkward. Anandharu. Yes, he is my uncle, but I haven't seen him in more than 8 years since he began his research on the titans, especially Godzilla, he said heavily. Issei. I see that you are passionate about the titans, he said curiously. Anandharu. A lot, in fact I know that they can send echolocation signals, he said calmly. Issei. Seriously, then you could know how many of those things exist, he said amazed. Anandharu. Yes, in fact I know there are 15 and counting their exact locations I didn't know them, but a couple of months ago I was able to enter the Monarch database and found a topographic map where the exact 15 locations were, he said proudly. Issei. You're telling me you hacked Monarch, he said incredulously. Anandharu. More or less, he said nervously. Issei. Wow, this boy will really help me, he thought seriously. Greg. Someone is watching us, he said seriously. Issei turned his head to find a Redeed looking at him from the window of an old building. Issei. Who is she, he said curiously. Anandharu. You are Ria's Gremory, one of the school's one Samas, and president of the Occult Research Club, he said calmly. Issei. She is the president of a club that searches for the paranormal, this being a very interesting demon. Occult Club. Ria's. Akeno, could you tell me who that boy is? She said calmly, moving away from the window. Akeno. Ara is the new student Hyoudou Issei. I don't know much about him, except for the fact that he is an orphan, said the black-haired girl calmly. Ria's. I see, it seems that he has a different energy than a simple human, she said looking at a pawn piece. Akeno. Now I see that you caught the attention, do you think you can be part of the entourage? She said curiously. Ria's. Maybe send Kaneko to keep a close eye on him. This is an opportunity we can't waste. Supernatural talk. Classes went on as normal after the break, now the brown-haired boy and his new friend were heading home. Issei. I can't believe you live 2 blocks from my house, he said incredulously. Anandharu. I can't believe it either, he said calmly. Issei. Hey, can I ask you something? He said curiously. Anandharu. Sure, ask whatever, he said calmly. Issei. Do you believe in the supernatural? He said seriously. Anandharu. Edo, you mean demons and ghosts, things like that, he said curiously. Issei. That's right, you believe in its existence, he said seriously. Anandharu. Not really, but during my research about the titans I found information about beings with different qualities, why do you ask? He said thoughtfully. Issei. Because they actually exist, the city is demon territory, he said seriously, leaving the boy in shock. After what the brown-haired boy said, a great silence formed, which was broken by a girl. Unknown, excuse me, are you Hyoudou Issei, said a black-haired girl with violet eyes. Issei. If it's me, who wants, he said seriously. Edo, my name is Amano Yuma and I was wondering if you would like to go out with me, she said nervous. Greg. I see, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, I already know, he is a fallen angel, he said seriously. Anandharu. Issei, why don't you answer him, he said confused. Issei. Anandharu, do you want me to show you what I told you, he said calmly. Anandharu. What are you talking about, he said confused. Issei. Stop pretending and show your true identity, fallen angel, he said seriously. Yuma. Wow, I think you found me out, he said with a creepy smile, transforming into him, taking out 2 black wings and a rather provocative outfit. And Haru, I am possible, he said amazed. Rainer. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Rainer. I've come to kill you. It's a shame you were able to enjoy a date with me, but I'll finish you off quickly. She said, throwing a spear of light. Issei. It's not time for me to die yet, not before I see that bastard fall, he said in a whisper. The spear was headed straight for the brown-haired boy, but was stopped by him with a strange red gauntlet. And Haru. What is that, he said shocked. In the distance. The white-haired girl looked at everything with surprise. Kaneko. It's the Sekiryuite, I have to tell Butchu, she said shocked. Back to battle. Rainer. You're the Sekiryuite, she said terrified. Issei. That's right, I'm the Red Emperor Dragon, and I think it's time for your death, he said, creating an energy sphere in his hand. Rainer. No, please forgive my life, she said, stepping back in fear. Issei. You came to kill me because I should forgive you, he said seriously. The brown-haired boy was ready to launch his attack, but a hand stopped him. And Haru. Stop, he said seriously. Issei. What are you doing, he said seriously. And Haru. Rainer is your name, isn't it? He said seriously. Rainer. Yes, she said scared. And Haru. You're not doing this because you want to, right? Someone is forcing you, isn't that right? He said seriously. Issei. What are you talking about, he said without understanding. Rainer. They ordered me to kill Hyoudou Issei because he could be a threat to the future, and if I don't do it, they will kill my sister, she said with tears. Issei. Who is threatening you? He said seriously. Rainer. It's the Kakabial cadre, but she is held by a group of fallen angels and a priest, she said helplessly. And Haru. What is your sister's name? He said curiously. Rainer. Well, she's not my sister, but I love her like one is Asia Argento, she said sadly. Issei. So they think that you will invite me on a date and that same day you will kill me, isn't that true, he said seriously. Rainer. That's right, she said without changing her attitude. And Haru. Issei, we must help her, he said worriedly. Issei. It's okay, they'll help me get rid of my boredom, he said thoughtfully. And Haru. Well, Rainer, go back with them, tell them that Issei accepted the date and that it will be on Saturday that same day we will help your sister, he said decided. Rainer. Hi, thank you very much, she said, wiping her tears and walking away. Issei. How did you know they forced her? He said seriously. And Haru. Easy his eyes, he said calmly. Issei. His eyes, he said confused. And Haru. That's right, the eyes are the window to the soul, in them she showed fear, dread and sadness, he said seriously. Issei. Wow, I've never seen it that way, he said thoughtfully. And Haru. It's like you, your eyes show a deep sadness and a great hatred, he said thoughtfully. Issei. Of course it doesn't work, let's keep walking, he said, avoiding what the black-haired man said. And Haru, you may lie, but your eyes don't lie. The cult club. Rias. Are you sure? She said shocked. Kaneko. Hi Butchu, Hyoudou senpai has the booster gear, said the loli. Rias. No matter what, it has to be my nobility. The next day. Issei was on break from school as usual, complaining about school to a nervous Ann Haru. Issei. I don't understand Don Anderton, he said seriously. And Haru. Issei, that was horrible if you don't say it, he said laughing his head off. Issei. Well, how do you say it? He said seriously. And Haru. I don't understand, I said calmly. Issei. Oh, I'm sorry Mr. English, he said mockingly. You are Hyoudou Issei, said a somewhat attractive boy. Issei. Yes, dozens, he said seriously. Kiba. Nice to meet you, my name is Hyoudou Kiba and my president would like to speak to you, he said calmly. Issei. Okay Ann Haru, I'll see you in class, he said calmly. And Haru. Okay. Issei. It took them a while, he thought calmly. Greg. Remember what I told you, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, I know, be careful, he said calmly. So both boys entered the old building, arriving at a place where there were 3 girls, a redhead, a brunette and an albino loli. Rias. Welcome Hyoudou Issei, she said politely. Issei. Nice to meet you, you must be Rias Gremory, said Cortez. Rias. So you know why you are here, she said curiously. Issei. I don't know, you tell me, he said seriously. Rias. Well, you think the supernatural world is real, she said curiously. Issei. You mean the fact that you and your entourage are demons? Yes, I believe in the supernatural world, so get to the point, he said seriously. Rias and her entourage were more than surprised since the brown-haired boy knew their secret. Akeno. How do you know? She said incredulously. Issei. I know many things, but the most important thing is that they know that I am the Securite since she was following me after school, he said seriously, leaving the loli shocked. Hineko? You always knew it was there, she said incredulously. Issei. If that's the case, get to the point, Gremory, he said seriously. Rias? Well, I want you to join my entourage. Meeting a nun. Issei remained silent after what the retard said, taking a few seconds to answer. Issei. Ha 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 ha, you're serious, then let me laugh harder, ha 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 ha, laughed non-stop. Rias. What's so funny to you? She said annoyed. Issei. What you say, but it's okay, I calmed down, now listen to me well, I will never join any faction, I have my priorities in the human world to waste my time with the supernatural, he said, turning around about to leave. Rias. If it's not for good, it will be for, she couldn't continue because she felt a great oppression in the air. Issei. Listen carefully, Gremory brat, try something stupid and you'll regret it, he said in a sinister voice, while his eyes looked like those of a dragon, terrifying the retard. So the chestnut tree left the place while the demons were relieved. The Keno. Rias, what are we going to do, she said worried. Rias. Nothing for now, but sooner or later it will be, my dear, she said annoyed. On the outskirts. Enheru. It took you less time than I thought, he said calmly as he walked next to the chestnut tree. Issei. You know what they wanted, he said seriously. Enheru. They wanted you to be part of them, he said curiously. Issei. Yes, he said without further ado. Enheru. Just as Drake predicted, curiously said. Issei. That's right, he said more calmly. Enheru. You refused, he said with a raised eyebrow. Issei. Of course, he said seriously. Enheru. You know they won't give up, he said heavily. Issei. It's obvious, he said tiredly. Enheru. You will still refuse no matter what method they use, he said curiously. Issei. Exactly. Go church. And how did it go? Said a fallen man in a suit and hat looking at Rainer. Rainer. It's done, don't seek, I'll kill him on Saturday, she said trying to sound natural. I hope you don't fail or little Asia will pay for it, said a blonde girl in a gothic outfit. Silence middle, she knows she has to not fail or she will, Rainer, said a blue-haired woman. Rainer. It's more than clear, Calwerner, she said with a little disgust. Calwerner. That's how I like it, now get out, he said with disgust. Rainer. I hope everything goes well. 3 hours later. The boys had arrived at the black-haired man's apartment. Enheru. Explain to me again what you want to know, he said curiously. Issei. The locations of the titans, he said calmly. Enheru. Okay, come in, he said as he entered the apartment, which was a bit big. Issei. You sure like luxuries, he said looking at the place. Enheru. Thanks, it was the cheapest one I found, he said calmly walking to a room. Issei. This is your laboratory, he said curiously. Enheru. That's right, I'm sorry about the mess, but this way I know where everything is, he said calmly. Issei. So this is it, he said looking at a huge map of the planet with 15 locations. More or less like this, just imagine that there are 15 marked. Angel. That's all the current titans found by Monarch, he said seriously. Issei. What is this, because it says changing, he said curiously pointing to a sign in the ocean. Enheru. That's Godzilla's and it's changing because it's always moving, he said seriously, while Issei tenses up when he hears that name. Issei. Well, hey, wait, you told me there were only 14 because there are 15, he said curiously. Enheru. Look here, in China this location was found by me, he said, pointing to the country of bad products. Issei. And how do you know that Monarch hasn't found her? He said curiously. Enheru. Easy, because they have a special frequency that they use to communicate between bases and none of them gives the location where that titan is, he said seriously. Issei. And you know what that titan is or what it's called, he said curiously. Enheru. Based on the scientific scheme it would be known as Titanus Masura, or as I call it and as it is known in ancient texts, Mothra. The next day. The chestnut tree was walking through the city, deep in thought. Greg. What's going on, mate, he said curiously. Issei. Do you think Enheru can really perceive people's emotions just by looking into their eyes? It also shows that he knows about the titans, he said curiously. Greg. I would say no, but the way he described the fall, it seems like he can, and with respect to the titans, that is the difference between you and him, he said thoughtfully. Issei. He is a strange boy, but what a difference, he said amused. Greg. Simple, he studies them out of fascination and admiration, you because you want to see them dead, he said seriously. Issei. Maybe you're right, I've only focused on destroying them, and the only thing I have is the orca, but the T he couldn't continue because boy with someone other than knocking down that person. There is, said a female voice on the ground. Issei. I'm very sorry, I wasn't paying attention to where I was going, he said sadly. No, don't worry, I'm lost and I didn't notice, said a blonde girl in nun's clothes. Issei. Let me help you, he said, lifting the girl and her suitcase. Thank you, he said, hoping to know the name of the chestnut tree. I see, Hyoudou Issei, he said politely. Thank you, Hyoudou-san, I am Asia Argento, she said in a friendly manner. Issei, Asia Argento, so this is the girl I'm talking about, the fall, he thought seriously. Asia. Edo, Hyoudou-san is fine, she said confused. Issei. Yes, of course, sorry, I thought I had heard your name before, but that doesn't matter. Tell me, Asia, you said you were lost, what place were you looking for? He said, curious. Asia. Yes, I'm looking for the church since I was transferred, but nobody understands me, and that's why I got lost, she said nervously. Issei. I see, well I know where the church is, come, I'll take you, he said kindly. Asia. Thank you very much, she said bowing. So the boys began to walk and a few minutes later they arrived at a chapel. Issei. Well here it is, he said calmly. Asia. Thank you so much, I really don't know how to repay you, she said gratefully. Issei. It's nothing, nice to meet you, Asia, see you, he said turning around and starting to walk. Asia. Goodbye, Issei-san, she said happily. Issei. Drake, how many possible enemies were there? He said seriously. Drake. Not counting Rainer, there are 3 low-level fallen and 16 humans, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, we're going to have fun. Rescuing the nun. We see Issei sitting seriously looking at the black-haired man. And Haru. Issei, why so serious, he said curiously. Issei. Tell me something, do you think there is a way to calm or control the titans, he said seriously and dryly. And Haru. The truth is no, because he said curiously. Issei. I think so through this, he said showing a diagram of a strange device. And Haru. What is this, he said curiously. Issei. This is the Orca project, he said seriously. And Haru. You say that with this we can interact with the titans, he said amazed. Issei. Not much more than that. So the days went by and the boys began to work on creating the Orca project and the long-awaited day had arrived. Issei. Hello Yuma, ready for our date, he said kindly. Yuma. Yes, said the fallen angel nervously. Issei. Act normal or they will notice, he said in a whisper. Yuma. I'm sorry, she said sadly. So the boys began their date just like in the anime, only the atmosphere was slightly more tense. Ring ring. Acme brand sound effects. Issei. Allow me, Yuma, he said answering. And Haru. Everything is ready, by the way, there is a fall. Watching their movements, act cautiously, he said on his cell phone. Issei. I understand, you know you didn't have to do this, you're a human, they could kill you, he said somewhat worried. And Haru. I'm not going to die until I can touch a titan, he said amused. Issei. Well bye, he said hanging up the phone. Yuma. Issei, who was it, she said curiously. Issei. My friend told me that tomorrow I can lend him my science book, he said calmly. Thus they continued their date until they reached the church. Middled. What the hell are you doing bringing that here, he said it would be. Yuma. Issei, before continuing, could you do me a favor? He said timidly. Issei. Yeah right, he said while moving his eyes to the left. Yuma. You would die for me, he said dryly. Issei. Sorry, said without understanding. Yuma. As you heard, you would die for me, he said, creating a spear of light and launching it against Middled, hitting him in the chest. Middled. Ma damn, you will pay, he said trying to get up. Issei. I think she's upset, he said amused. Rainer. It seems so, but don't worry, your friends will soon join you, she said, sticking another spear of light into her head. So both boys entered the church, meeting a group of priests and the remaining fallen angels. Halwerner. You are stupid now, you wanted Asia to pay, he said, showing a stone cross where the blonde was. Don't seek. A few words before I see her die, he said mockingly. Issei. If before starting someone wants to withdraw, he said summoning his booster gear. Halwerner. Impossible, how come you can already use it, she said nervously. Issei. I have my tricks, well let's start, he said seriously. Dreg. Welsh dragon booster gear balance breaker scalemate, the voice of the dragon summoning a red armor resounded. Don't seek. Start with the extraction of the sacred gear, he said seriously while launching into the attack. Rainer. You are mine, damn it, she said launching herself against Halwerner. Thus a battle broke out where thanks to Issei they had the advantage since he finished them all off with a single blow. Issei. Damn, they last more than just one hit, he said angrily. In a strange dimension, a bald man in a yellow suit looked at the sky, capturing the attention of a blonde cyborg. We see. What's happening, sensei, said the curious blonde. Saitama. I think someone has the same problem as me. Back to battle. The fight between the two fallen angels was more even. Halwerner. Soon that stupid nun will be dead and you will keep her company, she said angrily. But the nun. The priest with a crazy face activated the cross while laughing like crazy. Freed. This is about to begin, he said mockingly. I don't believe it, said a black-haired man hitting him with an aluminum bat. Asia. Who are you, she said scared. Anharu. I am Anharu, a friend of Issei, and we came to rescue you, he said, taking out some pliers to break chains. Freed. You think that would stop me, said the priest standing up. Anharu. A demon is what was missing, he said frustrated. Freed. Come on, I'll let you cut like those disgusting demons, he said while the black-haired man covered himself with a cross. Anharu. What do I do, what do I do? I already know, damn, first these crazy people, now the demons, he said seriously. Freed. What the hell, where is it? He couldn't finish because Anharu hit him on the back of the neck again. Anharu. I think I'll borrow this, he said taking the sword and gun from him. With both he was able to cut the chains, freeing the blonde. Asia. Thank you very much, she said happily. Anharu. It's not over yet, we have to go before he gets up, he said while leaving from there. Issei. Goodbye Crow, he said firing a dragon shoot and killing the fallen one. Rainer. This is over, say hello to your friends in hell, she said, throwing a spear of light that ripped off the blue-haired girl's head. Issei. I think that was all of them, he said, his armor disappearing. Anharu. Yes, I believe it too, he said leaving with the blonde. Rainer. Asia said hugging the blonde. Asia. Rainer Nasama, she said reciprocating the hug. Issei. Damn crazy guy, you did it, he said happily. Anharu. I think so, he couldn't continue because he fell to the ground. Issei. Anharu, what's up friend, he said worried. Anharu. I guess I wasn't very fast, he said while a cut on his side was visible. Asia. Don't worry, I'll help you, she said approaching the boy while a green aura was produced in her hands and the wound closed. Anharu. Wow, that was it, I think it was incredible, he said standing up. Rainer. That's the sacred gear, sacred art that allows you to heal wounds, she said calmly. Issei. Interesting and good, what will they do now, he said curiously. Rainer. I don't know, maybe we won't stay living in Kuo. I have money to survive for a few years, she said calmly while the blonde nodded. Issei. I see, well, see you tomorrow, we have school, he said goodbye. Anharu. It's true, we'll see each other, he said calmly. Rainer. Thank you, this would have been possible if it weren't for you, she said giving him a kiss on the cheek. Anharu. Nothing, goodbye. The next day. Your academy. Teacher. Well, I know it's unusual, but let's welcome 2 new classmates, he said calmly. Hello, my name is Asia Argento, I hope we get along, said the blonde kindly. I am Amano Yuma, nice to meet you. Break. The boys were already there because the girls were now studying with them. Issei. How do they study here? He said incredulously. Rainer. Well, we came, talked to the director and signed up, she said calmly, but her conversation was interrupted by a redeed. Issei. You come to bother Gremory again, he said seriously. Rias. Issei please she couldn't continue because a voice interrupted her. What are you doing here my dear Rias, you should be at your club waiting for me, said an arrogant boy holding the redeed. Rias. Release me Razor. The Titan awakens. Razor. Oh come on, you should get used to it since you'll soon be my wife, he said mockingly. Rias. I already told you that I'm not going to marry you, she said angrily. Razor ha, as if you had any choice, he said arrogantly. So the blonde walked away from everyone to disappear into a magic circle. Rias. TSK how I hate him, she said angry and frustrated. Issei. Instead of bothering me you should find a way to break up your marriage, he said seriously. Without saying anything the sad redeed went to her club. Rainer. I think that's why he's looking for you, he said it would be. Anharu. I see you noticed it too, said reading a book. Asia. I don't understand, said the blonde confused. Anharu. You see, I see, as the Secretary is a very coveted and powerful being, it is not crazy to think that the Gremory would use their power to annul their engagement, he said seriously without leaving his book. Issei. Yes, it makes sense, he said seriously. Rainer. Are you planning to help her? She said curiously. Issei. No, if I do it I would lose my freedom, he said seriously. Anharu. And you think there is no other way, he said seriously. Issei. What are you talking about? He said curiously. Anharu. Talk to her to see if there is any way to help her without joining her entourage, he said seriously. Issei. Maybe, but since when are you on his side, he said seriously. Anharu. I'm not, but I can see the desperation and frustration in your eyes, he said while staring at the brown-haired boy. Issei. You and your strange ability, he said tiredly. Asia. What skill, she said curiously. Issei. Anharu can, how to say it, read your soul, he said calmly. Rainer. Read your soul. She said confused. Issei. If he can look you straight in the eyes and can know how you feel inside even if you don't show it outside, that's why we decided to help you. He knew that you didn't want to kill me by your own decision, but because you were forced to, he said seriously, impressed by the girls. Anharu. There's a lot of talk, the break is over, he said, getting up and starting to walk. Issei. Let's go back to that martyrdom. 2 hours later. The boys were leaving school, the boys were talking without realizing that two heiresses were listening to them. Rainer. Come on, come see where we live, yeah, she said, making a pout next to the blonde. Issei. Well, I think we can go fast, he said, frustrated. PPP. A strange alarm sounded on the black-haired boy's bracelet, catching the boy's attention. Anharu. Impossible, he said in disbelief. Issei. What's wrong? He said seriously when he saw the black-haired man's concern. Anharu. One woke up, said worried. Rainer. Who woke up, she said without understanding. Anharu, a Titan. Chernobyl, Ukraine. The most radioactive place in the world was beginning to suffer from a strong seismic movement while the nuclear plant began to fall apart. Monarch Agent 1. Sir, number 10 is emerging, he said through his communicator. From M2. Sir, what Titan is here? Said trying to sound respectful. Ashiro Shirazawa. Titanus Clover Aka Cloverfield, said a serious man. At that moment, a gigantic being emerged from the nuclear plant, of which only traces remained. Shirazawa. What consequences will his awakening bring? Department of Anharu Kuo, Japan. The four boys arrived, followed by the heiresses, and out of concern and haste, they did not close the door of the apartment, leaving the heiresses free access. Issei. Are you sure? He said something tensely. Anharu. Yes, I am completely sure, he said, activating some machines. Rainer. Wow, I didn't know you were dedicated to the study of Titans, she said, impressed seeing the place. Issei. But which one of them was it, he said seriously. The black-haired man expanded a holographic map of the world, beginning to expand the location in Chernobyl, Ukraine. Anharu. Titan 10 Cloverfield location, Chernobyl, Ukraine. He knew it, he knew that those earthquakes were not normal. He was about to wake up, he said seriously. Rias. Wow, this guy is into researching these things, he said, whispering to a black-haired girl. Sona. The other one seems to know quite a bit too, said the black-haired girl, referring to Issei. Vip vip vip. A strange noise caught everyone's attention. Issei. Now what, he said, looking at a red light on the map that made him angry. Anharu. Godzilla began to move. Ukraine. Vivian Graham. Dr. Shirazawa, Godzilla is coming here, she said worriedly, while the Titan seemed stunned after awakening. Shirazawa comes to confront him. Kuo. Issei. You must be kidding me, he said, annoyed. Asia. Is Issei-san okay, she said, worried about the brown-haired boy. Rias. Did you hear that Godzilla is awake? He couldn't continue because he lost his balance, and both fell. Issei. What are you doing here? He said seriously. Anharu. How did they get into my house? He said seriously. Rainer. They were following us, she said angrily, summoning a spear of light. Rias. No, she said nervously. Anharu. Ah, I don't have time, Asia, turn on that television, he said seriously, while the blonde nodded. When he turned it on, the black-haired man found it on a news channel. Reporter. Just a few minutes ago, a strong tremor occurred in Chernobyl, Ukraine, the city with the worst nuclear disaster in recent years, but it has just been confirmed that the movement was caused by a Titan who was sleeping. Let's see a live image from our helicopter. Reporter. Greetings, we are flying over the city of Chernobyl where an unknown Titan has emerged. We can see the agents of the Monarch organization in the area. This Titan has a height similar to the female Hyoudou that emerged in New Mexico in 2014. Reporter. We have breaking news, and it is that Godzilla is approaching the place through the Black Sea, she said seriously. Issei, he comes to fight, he said seriously. Anharu, he comes to restore the balance. Chernobyl, Ukraine. Monarch agent searched for a place to hide while Cloverfield destroyed nearby buildings. Shirazawa. Dr. Graham, how long until convergence? He said seriously. Graham. Mr. Godzilla is he could not continue because a seismic movement was felt in the place, so that a loud noise caught everyone's attention, including the Titan. Issei Anharu Shirazawa. Godzilla. Showing the secrets. Everyone was paralyzed by the battle of two Titans, while the brown-haired boy looked with hatred at the giant lizard. Issei. You are the damn one, he said in a whisper. The battle began. Cloverfield jumped trying to scratch with his paws, but Godzilla caught him with his hands. Reporter. Both Titans are giving it their all, but Godzilla clearly has the advantage. Shirazawa. The Cloverfield Titan has no chance against him, he said seriously. Graham. Do you really think so? She said worriedly. Shirazawa. If Cloverfield's qualities are jumping and its enormous legs, but this one does not have a size as relevant as the female Hyoudou, if Godzilla seriously injures it, he could finish it off with his atomic breath, he said seriously. As the Titans continued their fight, Cloverfield climbed onto Godzilla's back, causing damage with her paws and mouth. Anharu. This could harm Godzilla, he said seriously. Issei. Come on damn, you have to win because I have to be the one to annihilate you, he thought with annoyance. Godzilla frantically shook himself trying to get rid of Cloverfield, just managing to do so when he crashed back into a building where Cloverfield ended up injured. Asia. Godzilla is about to win, he said happily. At that moment Godzilla's back began to glow and then launched a powerful blue ray. Cloverfield launched a kick, deflecting Godzilla's face and changing the direction of the shot. There he is. He barely managed to save himself, she said shocked. Cloverfield stood up and instead of continuing the fight he began to escape while the lizard was distracted. Anharu. His wounds do not allow him to continue, he said seriously. After 3 jumps Cloverfield disappeared from the camera's view but was followed by Monarch's people after several minutes. Godzilla, who only looked in the direction where the other Titan had left, decided to leave. Reporter. It seems that this confrontation between Godzilla and the unknown Titan has withdrawn. What consequences will it bring about the fact that there are now 2 of those things loose in the world? He said it would be. Brainer. Wow, that was intense, said the Fall. Issei. Now 2 of those things are dancing around there, he said seriously. Anharu. Before continuing, Miss Gremory, Miss Citri, could you tell us what you are doing in my house? He said seriously. Rias. Boo, well, we heard what they said about the Titans and we decided to follow them, she said, embarrassed just like the black-haired girl. Sona. We're sorry we came into your house like this, she said nervously. Issei. Well, the show is over, now you can leave, he said seriously. Anharu. Issei, have you already thought about what I said? He said seriously. Issei. TSK, well, Gremory, can I talk to you in private, he said, leaving the place followed by the redeed. Sona. You really like studying the Titans, she said looking at the room. Anharu. The truth is this is my life, he said calmly. Sona. I don't have half the information he has, she thought impressed. Anharu. Miss Citri, do you like them? He said curiously. Sona. Yes, but I don't have much time to devote to it because of other matters, she said sadly. Anharu. Demon affairs. With Issei. Rias. Yes, Hyoudou, what do you need, she said nervously. Issei. Tell me, Gremory, you wanted me to join your entourage to cancel your engagement with that fool, he said curiously. Rias. The truth is that if I don't want to marry that bastard, he only sees women as a piece of meat just for fun, she said sadly and with disgust. Issei. And why did they commit you to him, he said curiously. Rias. Because of our lineage, being a phoenix has regenerative blood and my blood has the power of destruction. They want to see what comes out of that mixture, she said sadly. Issei. So how were you going to break your engagement, he said seriously. Rias. Well, I was thinking of challenging him in a rating game and if I won, my commitment would be broken, she said sadly. Issei. I see, he said thoughtfully. Rias. Then you will join my entourage, she said hopefully. Issei. No, but I can help you break the engagement, but in exchange I want you to stop bothering me with that thing about becoming your dear, he said seriously. Rias. It's okay, she said sadly. So the heiresses left the black-haired man's apartment while the Fallen and the Wet One also left while both boys were talking. Issei. We must speed up the creation of Orca, that thing can cause a lot of damage, he said seriously. Anharu. I think you're right, he said thoughtfully. Issei. And I already did what you wanted, I talked to the Gremory to help her, he said seriously. Anharu. And what are you going to do, he said curiously. I see. Retear to that kind of razor. The next day. The Cult Club. We can see the Gremory entourage with Razor as well as 6 other people, 3 men and 3 women. Lord Phoenix. Well, why did you ask us to come, Miss Gremory? The man said seriously. Surzich. If you laugh, why did you make us come? Said the Mau seriously. Razor. It's not obvious that he brought us here to see the wedding date, he said arrogantly. Rias. You are very wrong, I only ask for time, let's wait for someone else, she said calmly. Bekeno. But you, what are you doing? I thought it was curious. At that moment the door of the club opened revealing a brunette with a serious look. Razor. And this clown who said mockingly. Issei. You must be the Gremory and Phoenix patriarchs in addition to the presence of the Mau Lucifer and his wife, isn't that right? He said respectfully. Lady Gremory. That's right, young man, and who are you? She said calmly. Issei. Nice to meet you, I'm Hyoudou Issei, better known as the Securite, he said, summoning his booster gear. Surzich. And to what do we owe your presence, Securite? He said curiously as he already got an idea. I see. Come to fight Razor Phoenix. What about him? We see all the world leaders gathered together and in front of them was Serizawa. Gyusa. And Vine believes that the Titans can still be safe, said the American leader. Serizawa. I never said they were safe. Dragon vs Phoenix. Everyone was surprised by what the brown-haired boy said. Lord Gremory. And what would that challenge be for? said the retard curiously. Issei. To break the engagement with Riaz, he said seriously. Razor puffed seriously. Just by having that sacred gear you think you're the big thing, he said mockingly. Issei. Then why don't you accept? Are you afraid? He said seriously, removing the phoenix's smile. Razor. Okay, I accept, but if I win, you will become a slave of the Phoenix family, he said seriously. Issei. Deal, he said seriously. Surzich. If both parties agree, the rating game will be next Saturday, in 2 days, he said seriously. Razor. Until then, Sekiruyute, he said, disappearing with his parents. Lady Gremory. Well, we're also leaving. We'll be looking forward to seeing the fight, she said as they left in a magic circle. Riaz. Issei, thank you, I don't know how to repay you for what you're doing for me, she said sadly. Issei. You don't have to thank him, besides you're right, he's very unpleasant, I want to punch him in the face, he said while leaving the club. Bakeno. You're not fooling me, you like Issei, she said in a mischievous way. Riaz. No, don't talk nonsense. Outside the school. The brown-haired boy was walking, immersed in his thoughts, until someone caught his attention. You're Hyoudou Issei, said a woman. Issei. If it's me, who wants, he said seriously. I am Dr. Vivienne Graham and I belong to Monarch, she said she would be. Issei, what do you want, Dr. Graham? He said curiously. Br. Graham. I need your help to find the only one of Anharu Sarazawa, nephew of Dr. Ishiro Sarazawa, he said it would be. Issei. And why my help, he said curiously. Dr. Graham. A Monarch agent saw them in the city and we believe that you could give us a clue to find him, he said it would be, but his concern was noticeable. Issei. If it's not too much recklessness, why do they need it? He said seriously. Dr. Graham. First of all, for violating Monarch security codes and stealing information, and second, his current knowledge can be helpful in the current situation we are in, and finally, his uncle wants to fix things with him, he said sadly. Issei. What are you talking about? According to him, Dr. Sarazawa has never contacted him for years, he said confused. Dr. Graham. What happens is that during the emergence of the Hyoudou at the Janjira plant in 2014, Daisuke, Anharu's father, died trying to save Ishiro, he said sadly. Issei. Anharu never mentioned that, he thought in disbelief. Dr. Graham. When he found out how his father died, he developed a deep hatred for Ishiro, he said sadly. Issei. I see, he is not in the city right now, but when he comes I will inform you so you can find him, he said seriously. Dr. Graham. Thank you very much, take this as my number so we can keep in touch, he said, giving him a card as he left the place. Issei. What else are you hiding, Anharu? 2 days later. We can see the Gremory group and the Issei group gathered in the club room waiting. Asia. Issei-san, do your best, she said, encouraging the brown-haired boy. Rainer. Good luck, she said happily. Anharu. You better win, he said amused. Issei. Don't worry, I'll win, I'll beat that fried chicken, he said happily. At that moment the Gremory entourage and Issei were transported to the underworld. Underworld battle arena. Issei appeared in an arena that looked like a chessboard and in the stands were on one side the Gremory patriarchs Riaz and their entourage and the Mao Lucifer and on the other were the Phoenix patriarchs with Razor's entourage. Rafia. Ladies and gentlemen, today will be the match between Razor Phoenix versus Hyoudou Issei. If Hyoudou Issei wins, the marriage between Razor and Riaz will be annulled, her voice rang out throughout the arena. Razor. Ready, slave, he said mockingly. Issei. Show me what you got, Yakitori, he said taking out his booster gear. Rafia. Begin. Razor quickly launched 2 fireballs that hit where the brown-haired boy was. Razor. Hahaha, that's all, that shows you your place, trash, he said with satisfaction while his parents looked pleased. Issei. That's all, he said from the flames. A few seconds later, a red armor was seen coming out of the fire. Issei. My turn, he said as he disappeared at high speed, landing a blow to Razor's chest. Razor. Damn you, I regretted he couldn't continue because he fell to his knees. Issei. What's up? You found a coin, he said amused. Razor. Don't make fun of it, he said trying to throw a fireball, but Issei was no longer there. Issei. Very slow, he said behind him, hitting him hard. Razor. I'm bleeding, what's happening? It's just physical damage because my internal wounds won't heal, he said desperately. Issei. What's wrong? Don't tell me your regeneration doesn't work, he said amused. Razor. TSK, damn what you did, he said annoyed and hurt. Issei. I'll tell you something, give me a minute and I'm good, give me an hour and I'm great, now give me 2 days and I'm unstoppable, he said with a big smile. Everyone was in shock after what the brown-haired boy said as he was effortlessly humiliating the Phoenix. Issei. Well, I'll tell you what I did. I gave you 2 blows that at first glance don't seem like anything other than that, blows, but the truth is that they were loaded with magic, and what they did was obstruct your flow of magic, that's why you can't regenerate, your magic is blocked, he said, giving him another blow, knocking him unconscious. Razor Phoenix can't continue. Issei Hyoudou is the winner, she said, shocked. Rias. I did it, Issei won, said she, hugged her servants. Tiba. Wow, Hyoudou, that's really impressive, he said, shocked. Bakeno. Not only is he cute but he is powerful, she said flirtatiously. Kaneko. Senpai is amazing, she said with a slight smile. At that moment Issei was transported to where the Gremory were. Surzich. Issei, that was amazing, he said, amazed. Lady Gremory. I didn't know how strong you were. I'm glad for your victory, said the brown-haired girl happily. Lord Gremory. Happiness, Hyoudou Issei, now Rissa will be your wife, he said happily. Issei areas what? Trouble in paradise. Everything fell silent after what Lord Gremory said, and for obvious reasons the first to react was Issei. Issei. What, they must be joking, we never agreed on that altered scream. Lord Gremory. I'm sorry, young Hyoudou, that's how the rules are. The man who defeats Ria's fiancé would become her new fiancé, he said firmly. Ria's. Issei, I'm sorry, I didn't know about this, she said sadly and embarrassed. Greg. Hey buddy, why don't you give him a chance, he said in the brown-haired boy's mind. Issei. What are you talking about? He said curiously. Greg. I can tell that she has feelings for you, and she's not like other crazy girls who do stupid things like gain experience with other men or cheat on you, she seems to really love you, he said seriously. Issei. Other lies, what the hell are you talking about, he said confused. Greg. Sorry, I think I exaggerated, he said nervously. Issei. Whatever, he said seriously. Lady Gremory. I also think they make a nice couple, she said happily. Issei. Let's do something, let's see if a relationship between the two works, because if not, the same thing will happen as with the Phoenix, do you think, he said seriously. Rias. Sounds good to me, she said happily. Issei. Well, let's go back to the human world. So Rias created a magic circle with which she transported everyone back to the occult club where Anharu and the girls as well as the Citri entourage were waiting for them. Sona. Laugh, how did it go for them? She said curiously. Issei. Damn idiot, he said furiously, launching himself against Anharu. Asia. Issei-san, calm down, she said nervously, while the brown-haired boy was strangling the black-haired boy. Issei. Because of your brilliant idea of helping Rias, I am now her fiancé, he said seriously. Sona. Then I win, she said impressed. Rias. That's right, Issei not only won, he humiliated Razor, she said happily. Bakeno. You should have seen it, I finished it without much effort, she said happily. Sona. Wow, Issei, you really live up to your title of Securite, she said calmly. Issei. Thanks, hey, are you okay? He said happily, seeing the black-haired boy catching his breath. Anharu. Listen, I'm not going to hang myself, he said, holding his neck. Issei. I should kill you, he said seriously. Anharu. And how the hell was I supposed to know that they were going to make you their fiancé, he said seriously. Rainer. He's right, you don't have to blame him, she said it would be. Issei. Okay, I think I exaggerated a little, he said with a drop of sweat on his head. All. You think, they said ironically. Issei. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Unknown location. Bicabial. And you have me well, said a serious fallen angel with a drug addict face. Lance. Well, the Brad has already started with the creation of that thing called Orca, he said seriously. Bicabial. I see the machine that controls the Titans, he said seriously. Lance. That's right, and when it's ready I'll bring it to you, he said with a malicious smile. Bicabial, I'm taking care of everything right now. The next day. We see the chestnut tree walking through the park, deep in thought. The R. Graham, Anharu's father, died saving Ashiro. Issei. Anharu's father also died because of the Titans, he said seriously. Greg. And you're surprised that I'm not a vengeful madman like you, he said seriously. Issei. That's not what happens, it's just that how can he hide his sadness and hatred so that no one notices it? It's hard for me, but for him it's so natural, he said thoughtfully. Greg. Yes, you're right, but it's true. Maybe he just got over it and that's why he avoids any kind of communication with he couldn't continue because something caught his attention. Issei. Drake, what's wrong, he said curiously. Greg. Someone is watching us, he said seriously. Without answering, Issei took a quick look around without seeing anything until he could see 2 hooded figures in the distance. Issei. I see them, that energy they emanate is sacred, they must be exorcists, he said curiously. Greg. Possibly, but what are they doing in demon territory? He said, curious. Issei. I don't know, but I'll find out. Outskirts of the city. Anharu. They never tire of following me, right? He said looking at a woman. Graham and Haru, please understand you could not continue because the boy spoke. And Haru. Understand nothing that day in Janjira Shiro had to die, not my father, he said with anger and sadness. Dr. Graham. Maybe it's true, but it was your father's decision, he gave his life for his brother, no one forced him, he said sadly. And Haru. Even if it was like that for me, that day Shiro Serizawa stopped being my family. The cult club. We can see a very happy Reed while chatting with her childhood friend. Sona. What great happiness it gives you to be Hyoudu's fiancé, she said mockingly. Riaz. What can I say? I really like him and I will do my best to make him fall in love with me, she said determinedly. Sona. Do you think you could help me with that? She said nervously, looking away. Riaz. Let's see, do you want me to help you win over a boy? She said shocked. Sona. Well, more or less, she said nervously while playing with her fingers. Riaz Kai, I can't believe it, the great Sona Sitri is in love, tell me, I know him, she said excitedly. Sona. He even studies at the academy, she said nervously and with a big blush. Riaz. Who is it, she said intrigued. Sona. Yes, and Haru. Guo Park. We see the brown-haired man with a serious look, turning his back on the hooded figures. Issei. Come out now, I know you're there, he said with a firm voice. After a few seconds, both figures stood in front of the brunette who didn't seem worried in the least. Our suspicions were true, you are not an ordinary human, who are you? You belong to the demon, said one of the people seriously. Issei. I will answer all your questions if you tell me what they are doing in Kuo, he said seriously. Look for the heiresses Sona Sitri and Riaz Gremory. Church envoys and a raven. Issei. Why do you need to talk to them? He said seriously. It's a private matter, said the hooded woman. Issei. Okay, follow me, but don't try anything stupid or you'll regret it, he said seriously. Understood. 20 minutes later. Guo Academy Occult Club. Sona. Do you think it will work? She said doubtfully. Riaz. Of course you have to approach him slowly so that he becomes interested in you, and I repeat, don't do stupid things like looking for men to gain experience or get his attention, this will only make him move away from you, she said firmly. Sona. I understand, I'll give it my best effort. You see, she couldn't continue because Issei entered with two hooded people. The Keno. Issei-kun, who are those people, said the curious black-haired girl. Issei. They are looking for Riaz and Sona, he said seriously. Sona. It is we who wish, she said she would be just like the Reed. Nice to meet you, Gremory and Sitri heiresses. I'm Zenobia Corda, she said, taking off her hood, revealing a blue-haired girl with a green lock of hair. Hello, I'm Irina Shidu, said the other hooded girl who was a brunette with violet eyes. Issei, what are you? Irina screamed in shock. Irina. Yes, as you know me, she said curiously. Issei. Irina is me, Issei, Hyoudou Issei, he said in disbelief. Irina. It's not true, Issei is you, she screamed, hugging the brown-haired boy, causing jealousy in a group of girls. Zenobia. Cough cough, Irina, the mission, she said with a drop of sweat on her head. Irina. Oh, I'm sorry, she said a little embarrassed. Zenobia. Well, the reason we are here was to search for and capture the Kakabiel cadre, since at first it was known that he was looking for the Excalibur swords to start a holy war between the three biblical factions, but the stolen swords were recently found, but it was discovered the Kakabiel is planning something big, he said it would be. Riaz. And what exactly is it, she said curiously. Zenobia. We don't know for sure, we only know that it's called Project Orca, she said it would be, while Issei opened his eyes wide. Issei. How do you know about that? Euphoric shout. Riaz. Issei, you know what it is, she said shocked. Issei. Allow me, I need to make a call. 25 minutes later. And Haru. I'm here, what's going on? He said, entering with Rainer. Issei. Tell me who you talked to about the Orca project, he said furiously, grabbing him by the neck. Antares. What are you talking about? I haven't told anyone. We promised to keep it a secret, he said, hurt by the brown-haired boy's grip. Issei. Then how is it possible that that damn cadre knows about? He couldn't continue because Drake intervened. Drake. I see, he's not the only one you told about the project, remember, he said seriously. Issei. It's true, it was also that bastard, he said, hitting the wall in frustration. Riaz. Issei, please tell us what's wrong, she said worried. And Haru. Issei, we must tell them, he said, getting up with Rainer's help. Issei. Fine, but I want this to be understood between us, he said, while everyone including the church members nodded. Issei. You see, the Orca project itself is the creation of an artifact capable of calming or altering the behavior of the Titans. Dibba. You're saying that thing could so-called control the behavior of the Titans, he said, impressed to everyone. Issei. That's right, and Haru and I are working on it, and we are close to finishing it, he said seriously. Sona. But since the greatest scientists in the world, both human and supernatural, have not been able to create such an artifact, how is it that you can? She said confused. Issei. You are scientists trying to control a titan, how would you do it? He said seriously. Irina. With a mind control device, she said curiously. Hiba. With a chipper mechanism that makes it obey what we only order it to do, he said curiously, so everyone gave similar ideas. And Haru. You see, that's the problem, everyone is trying to control the titan when the real way is not to control it, he said seriously. Sona. What do you mean? She said curiously. Issei. You will see the Orca project, or the device, which is a wave or frequency emitter that can be modified with respect to which titan it is, he said seriously. Rias. So all he does is send that signal to the titan so that it doesn't attack or vice versa, she said shocked. Issei. That's right, the fundamental idea of this was that the Hyoudous, those creatures, used echolocation to communicate, and what we made was a device that recreates the signal emitted by the titan, he said calmly. Zenobia. That thing is impressive, but if it falls into Kakabiel's hands it could be catastrophic, he said it would be. Issei. That's right, and as it is, it's a potential threat to everyone because we don't work together, he said seriously. Zenobia. I would like to say no, but I have no other choice, all to protect the world that our Lord created, she said calmly. Rias. We will also help, I will not let that crow wander through my territory as if nothing happened, she said it would be while Sona nodded. Rainer. I will finally get my revenge on that bastard, she said it would be. And Haru. Issei, I'll take care of that stupid crow, I'll protect the orca, he said seriously. Issei. Well, it's time to hunt a crow. Unknown location. We see a black-haired man with blonde locks and a glass of whiskey watching an albino girl. Well, Azazel, why did you call me? Said the curious albino girl. Azazel. You see, Valerie, I understand that Kakabiel is close to something that would put in check not only the human world but also the supernatural world, he said seriously. Valerie. And you want me to stop him, she said curiously. Azazel. That's right, but I want him alive. I want to know what he's looking for, and he has information about that criminal organization that your grandfather runs, he said seriously while the albino got upset. Valerie. I'll do it where I find it, he said it would be. Azazel. Kuo City, Japan, he said simply as the albino woman left the place. Outside the place. What are you thinking about, said a voice in his mind. Valerie. Nothing, Albion, nothing, he said in his mind. Albion. Don't lie, you think about that boy Hyoudou Issei, isn't that right? He said seriously. Valerie. I'm so obvious, she said sadly. Albion. I think you should forget about it since what happened in San Francisco, don't you think he could have died, he said seriously. Valerie. Shut up, I know he's alive and I'll find him wherever he is. Dragon vs Raven. 2 days later. The boys have been searching for the crow without any results, which worries them since they don't know what it could do. Issei, where is that bastard, he said frustrated. Rias. Issei, calm down, you'll see that we'll find him, she said, trying to cheer up the brown-haired boy. Issei. I hope so, and I also don't know where that damn lands is, he said heavily. Rias. The damned one who betrayed your trust, you will see that he will soon receive what he deserves, he said it would be. Issei. Thank you, laugh well, we have to keep searching, he couldn't continue because a magic circle appeared in the Retide's ear. Rias. Yes, what's happening is no, it can't be if we go there, she said worried. Issei. Rias, what's wrong, he said worried when he saw the Retide's face. Rias. Sona found Irina very badly injured, Zenobia is on her way, let's go, I'll tell the boys on the way, she said it would be. Issei. That bastard is going to regret it. So the two of them went to the location where Sona was, finding a very wounded chestnut and her broken sword. Issei. Irina reacts, he said worried. Sona. Issei, don't worry, Tsubaki and Momo will take her to a special room in my house where she will get better, she said, trying to calm the brown-haired boy. Zenobia. Thank you for helping my partner, she said nervously. Rainer. That damn Kakabiel will pay for this, she said annoyed. Kakabiel. This is how you address your superiors, said the crow from the sky. Issei. Damn, it's time to die, he said furiously. Kakabiel. Hello Sekiryuite, I know you're eager to kill me, but I'm sorry to tell you that our fight won't be here, but over there, he said, pointing to the Kuo Academy. Issei. No matter where, I will kill you, he said furiously. Kakabiel. He will see you, I'll be waiting for you, and you can call the Mao Lucifer and the Mao Leviathan that way, it will be fun, he said, mockingly disappearing from the place. Rias. What are we going to do? She said worriedly. Issei. We have to stop him to begin with, your brother is not aware of the Orca project, so calling him is not an option, he said seriously. Sona. But we can beat him, she said nervously. Issei. Of course we can, we just need a plan, he said seriously. Akeno. Issei-kun, do you have something in mind, she said curiously. Issei. If you look, Sona, you and your entourage create a protective barrier so that the battle remains in the academy. Riaz, Akeno and Rainer attack Akabiel from a distance. Zenobia, Kiba and Kaneko. I don't know if she has people at her service, but if so, you will face them. Asia will be behind. Anyone who is hurt, understood, he said seriously. All. Yes, they said determinedly. Riaz. And you, she said nervously, getting an idea of what the brown-haired boy would do. Issei. I'll go head on against Kakabiel. 5 minutes later. Academia Kuo. You could see how the academy was covered by a strange dome while Issei and company entered inside the barrier. Kakabiel. Until they finally arrived I was already getting bored, said sitting on a throne. Issei. Unhappy you will pay for what you did, he said, summoning his gauntlet. Kakabiel. Calm down, Sekiryuite, before fighting me you must take care of my little friends, he said, creating a portal from which 3-headed dogs came out. Riaz. They are Cerberus, she said worriedly. Issei. Guys, change of plans. Riaz, you and the others help the boys with the Cerberus, he said seriously. Riaz. No, I'm not going to let you fight Kakabiel alone, she said worriedly. Issei. Calm down, I'll be fine, go and help your servants, he said, activating his armor. Riaz. Be careful, I don't want to lose you, she said in a whisper. Rainer. Come on, laugh, she said it would be. Thus the entire Grimoire entourage along with Zenobia, who had summoned a second blue sword, began to battle against the dogs. I see. Kakabiel screamed, giving a strong blow to the face of the fallen one that broke the throne where he was. Kakabiel. Damn brat, how dare you, he said, creating a spear of light, starting a very even exchange of attacks. Issei. Are you ready to die? On the outskirts of Kuo. We can see an albino on the top of a tree looking out over the city. Valerie. Do you think that the owners of this territory are fighting against Kakabiel? He said it would be, while some strange blue wings appeared. Albion. It seems so, but you are not alone, I can feel the power of Red, he said seriously. Valerie. This will be fun. Back in the fight. Both battles were very even, but it was possible to see a slight advantage for the Grimoire, who had already finished off 3 Cerberus, but on the other hand, the fight between Issei and Kakabiel was very even. Issei. Come on, cadre of shit, show me what you got, he said annoyed. Kakabiel. How is it possible that a brat is at my level, he said furiously. Issei. I don't know why you're surprised since I can have the power to kill a god, he said seriously, connecting another blow. Kakabiel. Ha, I don't care about that, you will never stop me from achieving my goal, he said, laughing like a crazy man. Issei. Shut up, he said, hitting a dragon shot. Kakabiel. Do you want me to confirm a secret? He said amused. Issei. What a secret, he said angrily. Kakabiel. Tell me what you fight for or why you fight, he said seriously. Issei. He fought so that a deranged madman would not get his hands on something that could cause a lot of damage, he said seriously, while everyone paid attention since the Cerberus had died. Kakabiel. Exactly, to prevent me from getting my hands on the Orca project, haha, he said madly. Issei. What's so funny, he said angrily. Kakabiel. Don't you see that the Orca will be in my hands whether you like it or not, because stupid children don't realize that for every person there is one missing, he said with a crazy smile as he disappeared from the place. Issei. It can't be Anharu. Anharu department. We see the black-haired man looking out the window towards the academy while on the table there was a large box with a label that said Orca Project. Anharu. I hope everyone is okay, he said worried. Lance. I would worry about you, he said mockingly. Anharu. You must be the damn Lance, I won't let you take the Orca, he said seriously. Bang. The subject fired, hitting the black-haired man squarely while he grabbed the box and took it away. Lance. Wrong answer. Incredible discovery. Academia Kuo. Everything fell silent after Kakabiel had fled. Issei. Damn, we have to go to Anharu's house, he said upset. Sona. What's happening where Kakabiel is, she said appearing with her entourage. Rainer. She escaped, but Issei said we should go to Anharu's house, she said worried. So Riaz and Sona created a magic circle and transported everyone to the black-haired boy's apartment. Valerie. Huh. What happened, where are they all? She said confused, looking at the place of the battle. Albion. It's almost over. Anharu department. After a sudden flash, both entourages along with Issei and his group apart from Zenobia appeared, seeing the black-haired man in a pool of blood. Issei. Anharu said, running towards the black-haired man. Anharu. Hey Ko, how did it go? He said happily while bleeding from his mouth. Sona. Don't talk, we have to heal you, she said with a broken voice. Issei. Quick Asia, heal him, he said upset while the blonde ran. Anharu. It's useless, it won't be of any use, he said in pain. Rainer. Shut up, it will work, she said, trying to hold back her tears. Anharu. Asia's sacred gear heals wounds, but the bullet is still inside. The only thing it will do is close the wound, leaving the bullet inside, and that is not good, since the bullet is in a main artery near the heart, he said with effort. Riaz. Then we can't do anything, she said helplessly. Sona. Of course, she said nervously, summoning her set of pieces. Issei. What are you going to do, he said confused. Sona. I Sona Sitri give you life as a demon with the principle of serving me and helping me from now on. I make you my pawn, she said, inserting a piece into the black-haired man's chest. Plate. The noise after the ritual led everyone to look to the side of the black-haired man, where they saw a bullet covered in blood. Riaz. Brilliant sound, but let's not waste time, Asia, you can cure him, she said relieved while the blonde nodded. Anharu. Cough cough cough, I'm alive, he said while the brown-haired boy helped him up. Issei. Idiot, don't become a hero in difficult times, he said, annoyed and worried. Anharu. Yes, I'm sorry, he said scratching his head. Zenobia. This means we lost the orca, she said it would be, shocking everyone. Issei, that's right, damn lands, he said angrily. Anharu. I wouldn't be so sure, he said with a smile. Sona. What are you talking about? She said confused. Anharu. He took a box with the name Project Orca, but he never checked if the orca was inside, he said amused. Issei. What did you do? Outskirts of Kuo. Bicabial. And you have it well, he said looking at the boy. Lance. Of course those idiots left the most useless one taking care of the orca, he said, putting the box on the table. Bicabial. And what are you waiting for? Open it, he said approaching the box. Lance. Well, Mr. Bicabial, I present to you the orca, he said confidently opening the box. Bicabial. This can't be, he said while watching the countdown. Lance. Son of a titch. Anharu department. Issei. You placed an explosive, he said in shock watching the explosion from the window with the others. Anharu. Wasn't that a nice surprise? He said while taking out a kind of portfolio box. Issei. You're crazy, he said with a WTJF face. Anharu. Admit it, you love that I'm your friend, he said with a smile that didn't last long since Sona and Rainer hit him, sending him to the floor. Sona. Rainer. That wasn't funny, they said angrily. Anharu. Hey, you didn't have to hit me either, he said rubbing his head. Sona. You almost died for nothing, he took a trap because you didn't give it to him, and that's it, she said angrily. Anharu. Because if I hadn't suspected, I would have had to resist, he said, scared by the look that both black-haired girls were sending him. Issei. Well, the important thing is that everything went well, Bicabial doesn't have the orca, the idiot is dead, I think we should go arrest, he said calmly. On the outskirts of Kuo. We see a fallen man, somewhat injured by the explosion, weakly standing up. Bicabial. Damn useless good for nothing, he didn't realize it was a trap, it doesn't matter now he's dead, he said weakly and very angry. Valerie. Wow, you look awful, she said appearing in front of him. Bicabial. Come on Valerie, what are you doing here? He said scared. Valerie. Azazel sent me to bring you, so tell me, will it be by good or by bad means? He said, locking his knuckles. Bicabial. Please let me go, he said nervously. Valerie. Oh, look, it's not going to be possible, he said it would be. Bicabial. Then he dies, he said launching a powerful attack, and he tried to fly to escape. Valerie. Then it will be bad. 2 days later. The days have been calm, Issei along with Asia and Rainer joined the occult club and Anharu joined the student council, in addition to Irina and Zenobia, leaving to return to the Vatican to give their report about the mission, in addition to the heiresses, having the great happiness of having their loves with them. Guo Academy Occult Club. Riaz. I can't believe that next Monday is the parents' visit to school, she said heavily. Bekeno. Come on Riaz, cheer up, it's not that bad, she said calmly. Asia. Issei-san and his parents are coming, he said curiously, while for some strange reason the atmosphere became tense. Issei. My parents are dead, he said dryly, leaving the whole club in shock. Asia. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked, she said sadly. Issei. Don't worry, sooner or later they had to find out, he said with a calm smile. Riaz. Issei, if it's not indiscreet how they died, she said sadly about her brown hair. Issei. Godzilla killed them. Streets of Kuo. We see a black-haired man walking through the streets, deep in thought. Anharu. I can't believe he's a demon, the boy thought. Hey kid, said someone behind him. Anharu. Who are you? He said seriously as he turned around, face to face with the guy. Forgive my manners, my name is Azazel. Reunion. Anharu. Azazel, the leader of the fallen angels, what a surprise, what do I owe his visit to? He said seriously. Azazel. Hey, calm down, I'm not here to do anything bad to you, I just want to know if you're the one who created that orca project that crazy Bicabial talked so much about, he said calmly. Anharu. Why do you want to know that? He said seriously, about to activate a transportation circle. Azazel. It amazes me that a mere child or two could do something that we supernaturals and scientists of the world have not been able to do, he said, scratching his chin. Anharu. Simple, we work for a peaceful world where humans and titans can live in peace and harmony, but you only want to control them for warlike and destructive purposes, he said, annoyed. Azazel. Maybe what you say is true, even the governments work together to protect the world from the titans, but internally they look for ways to use their power to dominate everything, and we better not even talk about the supernatural, he said seriously. Anharu. So what makes you think I'll tell you about Orca, he said seriously. Azazel. I don't want to have the Orca, much less the truth. If you achieve your goal, everything will remain the same, and I will be able to continue going to nightclubs to have fun, he said calmly, while the black-haired man had a drop of sweat on his head. Anharu. That's all, he said, still in disbelief at what the fallen man had said. Azazel. No, that's not all. I know you're a demon now, but you don't have any sacred gear or great magic power, so you won't be able to be of much help in protecting the Orca, he said seriously. Anharu. Well, you're right, Issei has drag, and the others are stronger or have better skills than me, he said, sadly feeling incompetent when it comes to battle. Azazel. Here, he said, throwing a box that he pulled out of nowhere. Anharu. What is this? He said, seeing a strange belt with a strange device in the center. Ignore the card. Azazel. It's an artificial sacred gear that I myself created, its name is Steel Tiger, use it well, he said, disappearing in a magic circle. Anharu's sacred gear artificial. The cult club. Everyone fell silent after what the brown-haired boy said. Issei, what you say is true. Godzilla killed your parents, but how? She said incredulously. Issei. We were in San Francisco when he and those creatures fought. My parents died when a building fell. I barely survived, but I could see how that bastard appeared behind the building, he said, annoyed. Akeno. Issei, that could have been an accident, you and your parents were in the. She couldn't continue because Issei spoke. Issei. No accident, he killed us, and I will not rest until I see him dead, screamed with hatred, leaving the place. Everyone remained silent because they did not believe that the brown-haired boy had so much hatred in his heart. Issei, you are good, but you let yourself be carried away by hatred, and that is why I will not rest until you open your eyes. 3 days later. The day arrived, the day of the parents' visit to see the performance of their children. Anharu. Issei, are you okay? He said curiously, seeing his friend somewhat downcast. Issei. If you don't worry, it's nothing, he said thoughtfully. So all the parents entered, where everyone was surprised to see a dark blue-haired woman enter the classroom. Hello son, how are you? Said the black-haired girl, looking at Anharu. Anharu. Hi mom, I see you were able to come, he said nervously. Issei. She is your mother, he said incredulously. Hi, I'm Aylin Mizuno, nice to meet you, she said, greeting the brown-haired boy. Issei. Nice to meet you, Hyoudou Issei, he said calmly. All the students were murmuring and, along with the parents, they did not take their eyes off the woman. Teacher. Okay, young people, to start, I will give you your exams from least to greatest. Motohama, Mitsuda, etc. The last ones with perfect 10. Hyoudou Issei and Anharu Surazawa, he said calmly. Issei. Wow, I didn't expect anything less, he said calmly. Anharu and the arrogant one did not come, he said mockingly. So the classes went by. In the class they made sculptures where Issei made a copy of Godzilla about to collide with him in his balance breaker. Riaz. Hey guys, she said as she appeared with Surzich and his father. Rainer. Hi Riaz, she said calmly. Surzich. Issei-kun, I would like to talk to you about something important, he said seriously. So the two of them moved away from the rest who were chatting happily. Issei. What's wrong, Surzich? Something is wrong, he said curiously. Surzich. Well, you see, in 2 days a meeting will take place between the 3 biblical factions for a peace treaty and an alliance, and I want you to be present. Riaz and Sona will be there with their entourages, he said seriously. Issei. I see that there is no problem, but I would like to take a couple of friends if possible, he said seriously. Surzich. Perfect, it will be here at the academy, and besides Issei, there is one more thing, he said a little more seriously. Issei. Tell me what's wrong, he said confused. Surzich. The hacker Yuaku will be there too, he said seriously. Issei. So my predestined rival will be here, wow, it will be fun, he said with a big smile. Surzich. Well, now you know, let's go, he said, starting to walk. So the rest of the day was normal, not counting the appearance of Serafal, Sona's sister. Well, now we see the brown-haired boy walking to his house. Issei. Wow, that was a hectic day, he said thoughtfully. Greg. You're right, but what interests me most is that meeting where the target will be, he said excitedly. Issei. Yes, I also want to meet him and see how strong he is, he said relaxed. Greg. Although I don't care much about knowing who its bearer is, what matters is defeating it when we face each other, he said amused. Issei. I agree with you, we will show him the power of the Sekiryuite, he said happily. Drake. Although we have to did not continue, remained silent. Issei. Hey Drake, what's up, he said confused. Drake. We are not alone, he said seriously. So you are the Sekiryuite, let me introduce myself, I am Valerie the hacker Yuku, she said behind the brown-haired boy. I see. Valerie said incredulously looking at the girl. Valerie, I see. Meeting. The atmosphere fell silent after the sudden encounter between the celestial dragons. Issei. Valerie is you, he said hugging her tightly. Valerie. Issei, I can't believe it's really you, I knew it, I knew you couldn't be dead, he said, reciprocating the hug. Greg. Cough cough, sorry to interrupt the nice meeting, but there is a small problem, he said seriously from the booster gear. Issei. Valerie, you are the hacker Yuku, he said incredulously. Valerie. Yes, and from what I see you are the Sekiryuite, he said invoking his wings. Albion. I see you're awake, Reddy said normally. Greg. I say the same, wide and look at the coincidences of life, our carriers know each other, he said calmly. Albion. If you're right, life is capricious, he said calmly. Valerie. I'm sorry Albion, but I'm not going to fight against Issei, he said interrupting the dragons. Issei. Drake, same here, sorry, he said a little seriously. Greg. Hey, calm down Issei, it's okay, he said relaxed, surprising everyone. Albion. Drake, you're serious, he said in disbelief. Greg. Yes, listen, we have been doing this for centuries, we can't stop for a while, because of us, our bearers kill each other time after time, and the truth is that it tires me out, besides the rivalry is ours, not the bearers, he said seriously. Albion. Well, I admit that you are right. The truth is that it has hurt me to see many of my carriers die, and I think it is time to stop and take a little break, don't you think? He said calmly. Greg. You're right, if you knew all the times Issei kills or humiliates your male version for taking his female's names you would be incredulous, he said, leaving everyone confused. Albion. What the hell are you talking about, he said confused. Valerie. My male version, he said without understanding. Issei. Drake again talking about strange things, he said seriously. Greg. Sorry, it was unintentional, he said sadly. Valerie. I think this problem is solved because we don't talk about wasted time, he said happily. Issei. It seems perfect to me, he said starting to walk. Issei. Thanks friend, he said mentally. Greg. That's what friends are for. 2 days later. Things were still a bit tense at the club due to Issei still showing his hatred towards the Alpha Lizard, but now we're at the faction meeting. Surzich. I'm very glad you could come to this meeting, he said, seeing a blonde and still black-haired man with blonde locks. Michael. I'm glad too, said the blonde who was accompanied by Irina and Zenobia. Azazel. We might as well start this meeting here with everyone present, he said relaxed with Valerie behind them. Serafal. I think we can start, she said happily. Azazel. Well, the first point to address would be Kakabiel's problem, for which I apologized in advance for his actions, he said calmly. Surzich. I'm glad to know that the fallen angels are not related to the actions of that madman, and I also thank the Sekiryuite for defending the city and the hacker Yuku for capturing Kakabiel, he said calmly. Michael. That's true, but I also know that they weren't the only ones, since the Citri pawn was in charge of protecting the artifact that Kakabiel was looking for to the point of giving his life for it, he said, looking at the black-haired man. Azazel. Speaking of which, I would like the Sekiryuite and the Citri pawn to tell us about said artifact, he said calmly. Michael. Yes, we would like to know more about the Orca project, I think that is its name, he said calmly. Issei. Well, we are not sure about telling it, he said nervously. Surzich. What is this project about, he said curiously. Issei. It is a device capable of controlling the Titans, but not the majority, he said, surprising everyone. Serafal. You're serious, girls, you knew it, she said looking at the heiresses. Sona. That's correct, but they made us swear that we wouldn't say anything, she said nervously. Azazel. Well, could you explain to us about controlling the Titans? He said seriously. Anharu. The Orca, rather than controlling a Titan itself, what it does is interact with the Titan in order to calm or alter its emotional state through its allocation, he said seriously. Michael. So you managed to do something that people have been trying to do for years, he said incredulously. Issei. That's right, but because we are the ones, we didn't do it with plans to use their power to put ourselves above the others, he said seriously, leaving the leaders surprised since it was true. Issei. Although the truth is I plan to use it to kill that idiot, he thought seriously. Serafal. Yes, it's true that we all thought about using the Titans to increase our power, but to be honest, I would like to see a peaceful world with humans and supernatural beings coexisting with the Titans, she said calmly. Anharu. That's what we're looking for with the Orca, he said happily. Issei. I think that's all I can. He couldn't continue because there was a strong explosion that sent the roof flying. Hello fake mass, said a brunette woman with glasses and next to her a blonde boy. Serafal. Kateria-chan, what are you doing, she said confused. Enharu. Issei, he is not Saji Genshiro from Kiba's class, he said seriously looking at the blonde. Issei. Yes, it's him, he said seriously. Kateria, silence thief, I came here to recover my title as Leviathan, she said it would be. Issei. Hey, why so aggressive lady, he said seriously. Kateria. Oh, but look who we have here, the Sekiryu is a weak human reincarnated as a demon, she said mockingly. Issei. How funny you say that because I'm not a demon, he said slapping her, sending her flying. Everyone was in disbelief as the brown-haired boy sent the Leviathan flying with a single blow. Kateria. Attack, she said annoyed as several wizards appeared out of nowhere. Azazel. Valeri, he said seriously. Valerie. I'll take care of Balance Breaker, he said, his armor materializing. Saji. I think they forgot about he couldn't continue because something sent him flying. Enharu, and you about me, he said seriously. Sona. Enharu, wait, he has a sacred gear, you won't be able to beat him, she said nervously. Enharu. It's time to try your thing, he said taking out his belt. Rainer. What is that? She said confused. Enharu. Steel Tiger Balance Breaker, he said activating the belt that covered him with a strange armor. Something like that. Issei. But what he said when he saw his friend with that armor. Enharu. Let's dance. State of emergency. Everyone was more than surprised to see the black-haired man in his armor. Azazel. Wow, so you got it, he said thoughtfully, drawing everyone's attention. Sona. Mr. Azazel, did you know something about this? She said it would be. Azazel. That's right, I built that artifact, he said calmly. All. What, they shouted in disbelief. Saji. Shut up with her, without that stupid armor I'll kill you, he said seriously launching into the attack with a strange device in his hand. Enharu. Try it if you can, he said appearing right behind him. Thus the black-haired man began to launch multiple attacks with his claws, seriously injuring the blonde. Hiba. Wow, that's powerful, he said in disbelief like the rest. Sona. What did you expect from my dear, she said proudly, and my future husband, she thought happily. Kateria. TSK, you useless bastard, she said angrily seeing her partner on the floor. Issei. You should focus on your rival, he said, giving a hard blow to the abdomen sending her flying. Kateria. Damn human, who do you think you are? She said launching multiple attacks that the brown-haired boy dodged without problems. Issei. Tell me, so much hate for a simple title, that's something sad, he said seriously while facing the Leviathan. Kateria. You know, before the title of Amayu was respected and feared, but now it is a simple joke that anyone can use, and look now, making an alliance with our enemies for centuries, she said angrily invoking a magic circle and activating it being covered by snakes and increasing her power. Azazel. Ouroboros, he said in a whisper. Issei. I see, then before continuing you could answer me a question, he said calmly. Kateria. What is it about, she said it would be. Issei. You fear death, he said seriously. Kateria. What the hell are you talking about? Do you think you can beat me? She said it would be. Issei. I don't mean that, what I mean is that you are so determined to fulfill your mission that you don't realize that even though I didn't beat you, the leaders could do it, he said seriously, leaving the brunette thoughtful. Kateria. No, I don't mind dying if my sacrifice serves to return everything to normal, she said it would be. Issei. You don't realize, right? What the leaders want is a peace treaty so that their people stop dying in meaningless battles. Tell me, if you had a family, wouldn't you like to see them happy with a quiet life without fear of a possible war? He said seriously. Kateria. I don't, shut up, I don't have to listen to you, she said annoyed, launching a powerful attack. Issei. It's the best you have, he said behind her. Kateria. Impossible, how come she couldn't continue because Issei started hitting her? Issei. I'm sorry but you didn't want to listen, so I'll have to kill you, he said launching a dragon shoot. Valerie. Wow, Issei is very powerful, she said fascinated. Albion. I must admit that Drake did a good job with him, he said in the albino's mind. Valerie. I'm already looking forward to seeing our children, she thought happily. Kateria. What kind of human are you? She said angry and hurt. Issei. I'm not a human, I'm a dragon, he said seriously, and they began an even more brutal attack. Surzich. Wow, Issei is very strong, he said incredulously like the rest. Riaz. That's right, Issei is the best, not for nothing is he my fiancé, she said happily. Valerie. The menstrual hair that she said boiling with jealousy. Albion. I think you have competition, he said mockingly. Issei. This is over, Kateria, he said approaching the Mayu at a slow pace. Kateria. I can't be defeated in such a humiliating way, she said annoyed, hitting the floor. Issei. I'm sorry you made your decision so bye he couldn't continue because something caught his attention. Cloverfield Gwar here roared from the top of a mountain. Issei I am possible what are you doing here he said nervously. Sirzich Michael Azazel. A Titan unbelievers said. At that moment an alarm sounded throughout the city, causing panic in the people making them begin to abandon the city. Anharu. Issei, your damn parasites will end everything he said nervously. Issei. I know he said seriously. While on the mountain hundreds of small creatures ran towards the city. I see. Sirzich you can cast a spell that puts the whole city to sleep he said seriously. Valerie. Issei, what do you have in mind? She said confused. Issei. I will defend the city from those things, but I don't need humans to know of our existence he said seriously. Anharu. It won't be the only one, but I think it's time to try the orca he said seriously. Riaz. It is our territory too he said it would be. Sona. We will also help she said it would be. Azazel. Well let's start with the spell he said as the four of them stood in a circle. Anharu. Rainer, I need you to come to the academy with Asia. I know you already know the situation, so please bring the orca he said seriously. Thus the leaders activated a magic circle that put all the humans to sleep and the troops of angels and demons rose and began to attack the creatures led by Issei and Valerie. Anharu. All those who can't fight from a distance, fly to the roof of the academy. We can't let those things touch us he said seriously, while Kiba Kaneko, Momo, Zenobia, Irina among others, went up to the roof and the leaders watched from the sky. Rainer. Anharu can you believe it that thing came to Kuo she said incredulously landing on the roof while Asia gave her the orca. Anharu. Yes, I'll see if I can make him go away he said nervously. So the orca is active looking for the appropriate frequency to interact with Cloverfield. Issei Anharu how are you? He said without stopping attacking. Viteria. Help she said desperately as the creatures approached her. Issei. I'm coming he said launching several attacks and then leaving her on the roof with the rest. Anharu. That's it he said he pressed a button making a strange noise. A signal resonated throughout the place, but rather than calming the Titan, he became upset and began to approach. Issei. Anharu what's wrong he said upset. Anharu no he couldn't continue because he started to shake. Asia. By the way she said pointing to a small mountain that was beginning to break while strange vines came out of them revealing a giant creature. Issei. But what did you do he said nervously. Anharu. I didn't contact Cloverfield I called another Titan. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day bye.